Hey, second graders. So I'm going to be talking to you on this video about kind of what you're going to be learning in Buzz for the next 2 weeks. So the next 2 weeks, you have some short weeks. So the 16th through the 19th, you have a 4-day week. And then the week after that, you only have 2 days before your Thanksgiving break. So in those 2 short weeks, you only have 2 modules to do for ELA. And I'm going to be talking to you about some things that you're going to be seeing in those modules. So one of those things is going to be talking about adjectives. An adjective is a descriptive word that describes a noun. So if you picture in your mind a word that describes something, that would be an adjective. For example, an adjective could be a color. If you're describing a blue cup, the adjective would be blue because it's describing your cup. You can describe how something looks, if it looks strong, if it looks soft, if it looks bright. All those words describe what something might look like. Or you can describe its shape. Is it square? Is it round? You can describe how something may feel. Does your blue cup feel cold? You could say the cold blue cup. That describes how it may feel. So the reader gets the idea, they can picture in their mind, or they can almost feel what you are talking about. It can be hot. It can sound a certain way. It can be loud. It can be quiet. The quiet cat meowed. Something like that. It can be a number. You can be describing how many things you are writing about. There can be 2 brown bears in your story, or 3 fish swimming in the ocean. It can be about how something may smell. The stinky old cat. My stinky word is describing what the cat is. It can smell nice. It can smell fresh. It can be a size. You can talk about the large elephant or the tiny mouse. Those are descriptive words as well. You can also describe how something may taste. So the sour lemon or the sweet candy. It gives your reader a better idea of what to picture, what you're talking about in their head. So some more examples of some adjectives would be the large frog. So my adjective is the large. It's describing my frog. The blue sky. Blue is my adjective and it is describing the sky. So when I'm reading, I picture a blue sky or a large frog. It can be the wet table. So it's describing that my table is wet. The adjectives describe what our noun is. So the reader gets a better idea of what to picture while they're reading in their head. So some example sentences. So your sentence without an adjective might be meet the dog, but you could make it more detailed and give more description, and then that turns into meet the brown and white dog. So instead of just picturing a random dog, I'm now picturing a brown and white dog. The sentence, he eats an apple. Okay, I'm not really picturing much in my head when I read that, but when I add my adjectives, I picture more. So that sentence then with my adjectives can turn into, he eats one of the sweet red round apples. So my adjective, I picture one apple because one is an adjective. And then I also have 3 other adjectives that describe my apple. So I know that my apple is sweet, it is red, and it is round. So I'm picturing all these things inside my head when I'm reading that sentence, and it makes it more interesting for me to read. The last one, the apple has fallen from the tree. Okay, that's not as exciting as if I were to say, the apple has fallen from the big tree with the red and orange leaves. So instead of just picturing a brown tree, I'm now picturing a big tree that has these beautiful red and orange leaves. So adding adjectives to your writing makes it more interesting for the reader to read, and it gives them a better picture of the story in their heads. Another detail that you may add to your writing is called alliterations. So these are using words that have the same beginning sounds. So that might sound a little confusing to you, so I'll give you some examples. So alliterations in your story, they create some rhythm and they paint a better picture in our heads when we're reading, kind of similar to adjectives. So if I read, a goofy gopher looks up high, halfway between the ground and the sky. So the goofy gopher, you notice that goofy starts with G, as does the word gopher. So that paints me a better picture because it makes me focus on those two words, because in my head when I'm reading them, I think that goofy and gopher start with the same sound. So that makes me paint a better picture of a gopher that maybe thinks it's funny. Then the high and halfway begin with the same H sound, and that makes me pick up on those words a lot faster when I'm reading. It makes me notice those high and the halfway sounds. And then that helps me kind of picture in my mind that they're so high, they're almost touching the sky. And to me, that's very high. But I think about that more when I'm focusing on that they have the same sound. So putting in words that have the similar sound kind of right next to each other makes you not only notice those words faster, but then I think about those two words and it paints a better picture in my head of maybe what's going on in my story. So you can add these words to your writing. I want you now in our future writing to focus on thinking about adding more descriptive words or adding details that help paint a better picture for your reader about what is going on in the story that you're writing. So, like I said, it adds more detail and it gives a better picture of what you're saying. So on my next video for these next 2 weeks, I'm going to be talking to you about the story map that you will be writing. And this story map is going to be about a story that you get to make up by yourself. It's going to be a narrative story that you are telling, and you have 2 different options about what you can write about. And I'll talk a little more about that in the next video, but I want you to try adding these new writing techniques almost to your writing, to your, not necessarily your story map, but when you put that into your clean copy, I want you to focus on adding those adjectives and trying those alliterations, because you guys are such awesome writers, but adding these details can make it more exciting and a better picture when I read those stories and when anyone else may read your story. So I want that to be a challenge to you to try and add these to your writing. So I hope that this helps second graders, and I cannot wait to see you put these into your writing. Bye.